So Final Fantasy is everywhere, and we are well and truly in the eye of the storm that is the new set hype cycle. I want to use this brief calm to take a step back and talk about Universes Beyond. Because I see plenty of polarizing takes about whether Universes Beyond are good or bad for Magic. Like most things in life, the answer lies somewhere in the middle, and I often find these takes to be unnecessarily polarizing and that the people behind them seem to lack empathy for their fellow cardboard enjoyers. My goal in this video is to bring everyone a bit closer to the middle, so I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and effectively try and tell you why I think you're wrong, regardless of which side of the argument you're on, which will no doubt infuriate almost everyone and no one will be happy, but fuck it, I think it's worth talking about it and I'll share why later in the video. So let's get into it. I don't think we can talk about Universes Beyond without talking about the amount of interest in Magic the Gathering that these products generate. It is after all this interest that has made Wizards of the Coast double down. And I think regardless of whether you think that Universes Beyond are good or bad for Magic, one can't deny that these products bring a ton of new people into the game, and that can't be a bad thing. Whether it's a brand new player who has never touched a Magic card or a grizzled veteran who hasn't played for years but gets lured back into taking out their wallet, these products again generate interest in Magic. Certainly more interest than if Wizards had simply made nothing in their place, and quite possibly more interest than if they had made another in-universe set instead. Obviously more interest and more card sales is a good thing for Wizards, but I think it's also good for us as players. More interest means more people playing the game, which means it's easier to get a game, and it gives us new opportunities to make friends or maybe even meet a significant other. While I think the majority of new players enter via Commander, more general interest in Magic will also flow through to other formats, like Limited or Standard, and more interest across the board, including in these formats, likely means more people playing Magic near you. Whether that's at your LGS or in the pub, or even a larger sanctioned event like MagicCon or Command Fest, more people engaging gives the staff at Wizards greater justification to push for bigger and better events, prize pools, and competitive environments, which I think is pretty great and good for us, people that enjoy playing the game. Not that events really need any help, though that may surprise you, because it certainly surprised me. I feel like the general sentiment is that the peak of Magic events was in days gone by 10 or more years ago. I'd probably have said even earlier. Remember Grand Prix, the Magic mega events that no longer exist? This may just be a millennial Magic player thing, but it turns out that the peak of Magic events is not then, but actually right now. At their biggest, Grand Prix peaked at 7,500 people in Las Vegas in 2015. You know how many people attended MagicCon Las Vegas in 2024? Not 7,500, but 15,000. Now I hear you protesting, but that's not a direct comparison, you silly frog. That's including Commander and other formats. No wonder there were so many people there. And while that's somewhat true, by pure scale, MagicCon last year was the biggest Magic event ever. If we compare purely competitive events, we can look at the spiritual successor to the Grand Prix, the Spotlight Series. We've only had two so far, in Atlanta and Utrecht, and the attendance was 1,450 and 1,600 respectively, which is as much or more than how many people attended the average Grand Prix event in those cities during the 2010s. While the Spotlight Series is new and the quantity of them per year pales in comparison to how many Grand Prix events there used to be every year, I work in gaming and events, and COVID absolutely 360 no-scoped the entire event industry. With the Spotlight Series starting off effectively as good or stronger than their predecessor, it's surely a good sign. And again, if Universes Beyond helps drive more people into the top end of that Magic ecosystem, this can only help. In the case of Final Fantasy, we're talking about a game that's older than Magic, and with a possibly equal or even bigger fanbase. And that's a lot of potential new Magic players for you to play with, and compete with at a Magic event near you soon. If you're a regular here, this video is a bit different from my usual gameplay philosophy and deck building strategy videos. Let me know in the comments if you want more of this. And whether you're new or a regular that has yet to sub, beat rush the sub button. Because I'm on a mythical frog quest to be Australia's biggest Magic creator, and according to science, 80% of you incredibly based regular viewers aren't part of the frog gang yet. Okay, so part of the reason that Universes Beyond brings in so many new players to Magic is because it gives people new ways to enjoy the other gaming worlds that they love, and Final Fantasy is a great example of this. In my case, I have really fond memories of the first time I was exposed to the world of Final Fantasy via Final Fantasy VII. I was a poor young frog and didn't own a PlayStation, but my friend did, so we'd take turns playing through the game at his house. In the years that followed, I got my own Final Fantasy VII playthrough, not to mention Final Fantasy VIII and most of the earlier games too. I then took a long break from the series after that, so I'm not a Final Fantasy mega fan, but nonetheless, it holds a special place in my heart. From a purely collector perspective, whether it's original game concept art that's depicted on full art Magic cards, or new art of beloved characters like Aerith, Unit, Tifa, Cloud, Sephiroth, or Squall, the ability to see those worlds and characters portrayed in another new way, especially as a collectible, is something special. And it's even more special because it's actually a playable game, and it opens up new ways to enjoy the Final Fantasy world and ways to build new memories that are built on both Final Fantasy and Magic. Beyond that, these other worlds also have something else to add to Magic. They provide an excuse and a canvas to create cards with interesting abilities and incredible flavor. Like the Radiation ability from Fallout or the new Creature Sagas from Final Fantasy, these worlds inspire creativity that expands our own game in ways that might not have happened otherwise. One could argue that you don't need Universes Beyond to be able to create new abilities or cards, and while that's certainly true, I doubt we'd get a banger like Instant Ramen in Ravnica. So what if you love Magic but you've never really played Final Fantasy? It's really easy to be unenthused at a new set about a game and a world that you know nothing about. Despite having played a bunch of Fallout and Assassin's Creed, I felt exactly that way about those sets. Well, you may be lucky enough to pick up a Commander from a set that you really like mechanically, only for it to pique your interest enough to go and check out the original game where they're from, only for you to absolutely love it. It definitely won't happen every time, and you may decide that you really don't like those games after all, but with an open mind, who knows, you may realize that you like Final Fantasy games more than you do Magic the Gathering. In this way, Universes Beyond offers us a chance to explore new things from a place of familiarity and comfort, which I think is a really good thing. Okay, so far things have turned out to be pretty positive, so let's explore some of the more possible negative downsides of Universes Beyond in Magic. One of the biggest critiques of Universes Beyond, especially from people who have played Magic for a really long time, is that more Universes Beyond means less in-universe Magic as we know it. Less world building, lore, and cards about some of our favourite places, like Kamigawa, Dominaria, or Ravnica, or about beloved characters like Teferi, Urza, Jeska, or Ugin. I definitely have opinions, but I wanted to test this theory a bit more rigorously. So I dove into the history books and looked at when I was a young frog, much newer to Magic during Invasion Block. Across that year we got 3 sets, which delivered a total of 636 Magic cards. This continued on in a similar way till the late 2010s, where we started getting an extra set each year and the set sizes increased up to over 1,100 cards a year. More recently in 2024, we had 4 in-universe sets giving us a total of over 1,100 cards, or a whole lot more if we include Foundations and Modern Horizons, but I see these as outliers. So despite Universes Beyond, we got at least as much or more in-universe Magic than we have in the past. In 2025, we know that we get 3 in-universe and 3 out-of-universe sets. This means that we drop back to just below 900 in-universe cards, and that is certainly a negative when compared with recent years, but it's also up from what I had when I was younger and what we had during all of the 2010s. So to answer the question, does Universes Beyond mean less in-universe Magic? Well, kinda, depending on how long you've been playing Magic. We do, however, obviously get 3 Universes Beyond sets and another 900 cards, but depending on where you fall on this topic, that may well be more of a negative than it is a positive. Especially because with a new set every 2 months, we've barely enjoyed the dopamine of mail day from the current set before the hype cycle and spoiler season for the next set kicks in. This cadence is both tiring for me and my wallet, and is another thing that could be seen as bad. But these are valid opinions to have, especially the former. We all get to choose what we like or dislike, and many people, myself included, don't really care for having SpongeBob in Magic. Now my stance is probably more of meh, not for me, I'm not going to buy those, than active dislike, but many more are more extreme in their views and would simply rather not have to play against, or heaven forbid, use a small sponge in their decks at all. I think for many, a big problem with Universes Beyond is that they break the immersion that we as players have with this game. Imagine you're watching Game of Thrones or Andor and suddenly SpongeBob pops up. It'll immediately seem out of place and break the spell that the world has over you. In a similar way, Magic has traditionally been a high fantasy or high science fiction environment, an environment where even if you don't engage with the lore that much, you've got a gritty, dark world with epic scale and adult themes that you can soak up simply by engaging with the cards. Introducing characters and worlds that don't match this type of experience pull you out of being immersed, and it's why I believe worlds like Warhammer or Lord of the Rings work far better in Magic than worlds like The Walking Dead, Fortnite, SpongeBob, or Spider-Man. I believe this is the same core reason why there has been a growing dislike for the in-universe hat sets, where sets have a silly or comical tone to them. these wacky magic worlds similarly seem out of place and break the immersion into this experience that has always been more dark or gritty. I've also seen people that absolutely hate Universes Beyond, but that make exceptions for a set like The Lord of the Rings, and the grey area that this creates makes things even more subjective. Because how much someone likes or dislikes a Universes Beyond is often closely tied to how much they like or dislike the current world being brought into Magic. One person will strongly dislike a set like Fallout, vowing never to buy another booster pack again, and for another, it's a dream come true and they're cracking packs like they're hunting the One Ring. In Commander, it's pretty easy to choose what we play with and against, but this is not true for competitive formats, especially for Standard. In a format like Standard, players need to use the strongest cards available to them and build the very best deck that they can, and this creates a big problem because of Universes Beyond. Now that Universes Beyond sets from Final Fantasy onwards are Standard legal, it means that it forces players to use cards that A, they might not enjoy playing with, and that B, will probably be much more expensive to obtain. This creates direct barriers that will stop some, and perhaps many players, from exploring, or committing to, or continuing to play Standard as a format. We'll come back to pricing in a second, but I believe that Wizards want Standard as a format to flourish, and that it's the desired next step in the journey for many players that enter via Commander. If this is accurate, then creating any barriers to entry to Standard is a huge own goal and justifies some of the dislike that Universes Beyond generates because of the problem this causes. Okay, let's talk about the pricing. There is no way around it, but Universes Beyond products tend to be very expensive. I want more people to have access to this great hobby, not less, so the fact that these sets are too expensive for many really sucks. As a direct comparison, the MSRP on Final Fantasy is about 50% or more than what it was for Tarkir. That is a tough pill to swallow, and as a direct result, I'll probably buy less Final Fantasy than I did Tarkir Dragonstorm. I see the critique of Wizards in relation to the increasing of costs on MSRP on a set like this, but I do believe that the vast majority, if not all the increases, exist solely because of licensing fees and costs to bring a partnership like this to life. While I don't have any insider info, I've worked in gaming for many years, and I can say that every time I've seen behind the curtain on a decision that has made communities unhappy, like a price increase, the fan or public perception and theories about why something is the way that it is are completely wrong. There are usually very good and justifiable reasons that the things happen the way they do, even if the end result is unpopular. It's important to remember that a business like Wizards is filled with staff that are fans of what they are working on, and who are doing their best to give fans what they want. There is a fair amount of opportunity cost involved for a brand like Final Fantasy here, and the only way that this would get across the line from a business perspective on their end is if it makes financial sense. If I was a Wizards executive, and feel free to call me Wizards, I'd probably be a good one, I'd be very happy with the uplift of sales that a set like this provides, without needing to unnecessarily inflate prices and risk consumer pushback. Now, supply and demand at local game stores, distributors and scalpers is a completely separate issue and can cause another increase in costs. But the only time you can get burned there is by falling for FOMO and spending far more than you should on a product because you want it now. I remember seeing plenty of limited items like Commander decks from releases like Warhammer or Lord of the Rings being available for at or near MSRP in the months following release, and I imagine it'll be the same here. If all else fails, remember that you can always buy singles. Ultimately, as consumers, we can wail and gnash our teeth as much as we want, but the only real power that we have is voting with our wallets. And if we don't like a certain product or business practice, then the best thing that we can do is send our money in the direction that we would like things to go. Don't like Universes Beyond and want more real Magic? Then make sure you spend on sets like Tarkir Dragonstorm or Edge of Eternities, because ultimately Wizards of the Coast is a business, and they're going to make more of what sells best. If that's in-universe Magic, then we will get more of it. Speaking of Tarkir Dragonstorm, I've also seen sentiment that Universes Beyond successes may be pulling Wizards' focus away from in-universe sets, and that's why we've been seeing the decline of focus and quality of subjectively subpar sets like Murders of Karlov Manor, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Aetherdrift, and to a degree Duskmourn. While I can certainly understand that logic, I can only imagine that Wizards understands the importance of not abandoning their own IP if they want to ensure long-term sustainability. With the success of sets like Foundations, Bloomburrow, and now Tarkir Dragonstorm, it should hopefully point to a future where Wizards continues investing in their own worlds and continues to make in-universe sets that rival or exceed the Universes Beyond ones. And while thematically I can agree that I don't love any of the hat sets, one can't deny that they still brought some serious heat in terms of the cards they introduced. Personally, at the start of this year, I was far more excited for Tarkir and Edge of Eternities than I was for the Universes Beyond sets, and many people that I spoke to felt the same. The fact that the pre-releases for Tarkir Dragonstorm were absolutely packed, and that every man and their dog was suddenly building Dragon decks, further strengthens the case for Wizards not abandoning everything for Universes Beyond. But what about new players who discover Magic because of Universes Beyond? Many Universes Beyond detractors would go so far as to be critical of the players enjoying this experience, and I think it's worth empathizing and putting oneself in their shoes. Many people will excitedly pick up a Final Fantasy Commander Precon and start learning Magic with their friends in the next month. For these excited new players who may well discover that they love Magic and go down this rabbit hole that many of us have, shouldn't we be trying to make their onboarding to this game as good as possible? I'm a big believer in live and let live. And if people are enjoying something and it's not hurting anyone, I believe we really shouldn't get in the way of that. Life isn't black and white, it's grey and somewhere in the middle. And if that means sitting down with a friend who desperately wants to play their SpongeBob theme deck even though it's commanded by Joda, temporarily reducing our enjoyment in the short term and increasing theirs, will likely have a far better outcome for everyone in the long run than being more extreme. Speaking of extreme, it's worth touching on a related point that rears its head when we talk about Universes Beyond. The extremes of fandom are where many gaming communities, including the Magic community, are at their worst. People can be tribal, inflexible, self-interested, and vitriolic, and it's where things like the colour of a fictional character's skin can create widespread unhappiness, and it gets blamed on Universes Beyond. Anyone with intellect, empathy, and compassion can do the critical thinking required to arrive at the realization that it doesn't matter what colour a character's skin is. What matters is what the character stands for and embodies, and how faithfully that's portrayed. And if one can't be flexible and rational, then one has problems that far exceed Universes Beyond. But I feel that is a whole other video, so I'll leave that there. My last point is more of a question. But what is Magic the Gathering? Is it the game design and system itself? Or is it the world, characters, and stories? A truly chicken and egg moment if ever there was one. If you read up about how Richard Garfield created Magic, it becomes clear that the building of the world and the lore came second, and was built in a way to support Magic as a functional game. This doesn't make the lore, story, and worlds of Magic irrelevant, but it does have an impact. If this is the objective reality, then Universes Beyond can be in spirit as much part of the game of Magic as Dominaria and all the planes we know and love. If we again put ourselves in the shoes of the Final Fantasy fan who is about to play Magic for the first time, the game of Magic will always have included Final Fantasy to them. They have no previous attachment to the worlds that we know and love, and all discourse about whether Universes Beyond are ruining Magic is completely irrelevant. They're just excited to be here, and they're having a great time, which ultimately is a message and a mindset that I think all of us would be better adopting. Sure, like anything in life outside of your loved ones, love the game of Magic, but don't get so attached to it that it clouds your judgment about what we're really doing here, and that's gathering. As I said in my last video, remember that the real Magic is the gathering we made along the way. It's clear that in the near future at the very least, Universes Beyond are here to stay, but after exploring the topic in more detail, I believe that they bring at least as much, if not more good than bad. I'm sure there's nuance and viewpoints that I've missed, so I'd love to talk about it in the comments or in my Discord server. Let me know what you think, both about Universes Beyond and this style of video if you're a regular. If you're new here, go and watch one of these videos. They'll make you think differently about Magic, and I think you'll enjoy them, promise. Lastly, a reminder that I'm on the hunt for a freelance editor. If you edit videos and especially Magic content or videos similar to mine, email me. I'll be following up in the next few weeks. And as always, thank you for being here.